Adam Schefter joining us right now on ESPN 1000. Shefty, let's just start skimming the surface here. What are you hearing, if anything, as of now regarding our Chicago Bears?
Well, I think they're obviously not in any great rush, and you can't talk to a lot of people while the season's still going on. There are certain windows that you can talk to people. Now, Mike Vrabel's employment agreement with the Browns expired today, so he's free to go talk to anybody at any point in time. So if the Bears want to talk to Mike Vrabel, that could get done this week. You could talk to other people that don't have jobs this week. But if you are somebody like Ben Johnson or Brian Flores or Aaron Glenn, you're under contract. You're in the middle of the season. There are rules that govern when you can and can't talk to those candidates. The Bears search, I'm sure they're doing a lot of research, diligence, background checks, character checks, and a lot of people that they are interested in talking to. And that's, I'm sure, where they're at right now before they begin to move forward in the process once the regular season wraps up this weekend.
You mentioned Vrabel. Do you anticipate that they reach out immediately, or are you hearing, and I know Orlovsky hinted that he's spoken for already, that he could be a New England, or that's not right, New England or Raiders bound?
Mike Vrabel is not spoken for already. Mike Vrabel is going to be interviewing with teams and does not have a job. First of all, if he had a job, it would be a violation of the Rooney Rule. So I think teams are very leery about making sure that they do things the right way. That would not be the right way. And in multiple conversations I've had with various people, in no way, shape, or form have I gotten any indication that Mike Vrabel is spoken for.
Schefter, are you also under the impression that Ryan Poles is not going anywhere despite now having 2 10-game losing streaks on his resume here in Chicago?
I don't, losing streaks, obviously people disappointed, but my expectation is that Ryan Poles is going to be there, that they have a young GM talent and that he's going to be given time to continue to do what he does and grow into the job and build the roster that they want. I'm sure people aren't happy right now, but I don't see anything happening with him, and I do see him being back in Chicago.
Do you think?
By the way, we say these things, and then something could happen, right? But I have not gotten any hint or indication that that's happening. Now, could something happen? Sure. I'm not expecting that, but just because I'm not expecting doesn't mean that something can happen, because there's always a surprise, but I've got no indication, hint, expectation that they're doing something with Ryan Poles. No.
I've got a couple follow-ups on that. Do you remember in recent memory where that were the case, where a GM or someone you thought was safe, and then they got down the road with interviewing, and then because of circumstances, they just said, hey, we've got to move on from this guy if we want to get the head coach done?
Well, I mean, you're trying to apply it to a specific situation. What you're saying, Sylvia, is that they start talking to head coaching candidates. One of them doesn't want to work with Ryan Poles, and they pull the plug on him. That's what you're saying, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay? Every situation is different. All I can tell you is every year there seems to be some sort of surprise, whatever constitutes that surprise. Like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that team to make that move, or we thought that guy was safe and he wasn't. I mean, things happen. And that's why, by the way, on my previous answer, no, I do not expect that they're moving on from Ryan. I do expect them, but it's never fully black and white, ever, because things happen. Again, I believe he's going to be there. I believe they want to keep him. I believe they should keep him. I believe he's got a bright future. There's a lot of things, but things happen during the course of events that change decisions, that change minds, and all of a sudden, like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that to happen. Because every year there's something that you didn't see coming. It happens. It just does. And I'm not telling you that that's going to be the Bears and Ryan. I don't believe that to be the case. But I'm just giving you the lay of the land and making sure that there's wiggle room on everything at this time of the year with everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, Shefty, do you believe that they're a guy with high leverage, whether it's Ben Johnson, whether it is Mike Vrabel, a guy that everyone wants to talk to, would any of them want to bring in their own personnel guy like Harbaugh or some other guys have?
Well, I think that if you're in as much demand as some of these guys, you have a chance to dictate the way things are going to be. There aren't many opportunities in your life where you get to tell it, hey, I'm coming, but I want to work closely with this guy, or maybe not. Maybe you don't feel that way. Maybe all you care about is coaching, right? Everybody's different. Everybody's got different ideas. Everybody's got different experiences. Some people have been head coaches. Some people haven't. Jim Harbaugh had been, so Jim knew exactly what he would have to have if he went back to it. Ben Johnson's never been a head coach. He might have a different set of ideas. Everybody's got different ideas, and it's hard to just make a blanket general statement because one size does not fit all.
Is the Bears opening still the most appealing? And is there another one that might come up on Black Monday that might also be appealing to some of these candidates?
Well, Dion, whoever said that the Bears opening is the most appealing? Who said that? Like, I think it's an appealing job, but I don't know why it's the most appealing. I think that, the Bears have some elements that would be very appealing and some other elements that would not be. They have a historic franchise. They have a young, talented quarterback who has talent, but we don't know whether he's going to play up to that or reach his full potential or not. Everybody's waiting to see that still, right? Mm-hmm. But then you come in, there's a president, there's a GM. Some people will be happy about that. Some people might have questions about that. It's a team that hasn't won in a long time. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's got some elements that are absolutely appealing. But I would not say it's the most appealing. I don't know that I would say any job is the most appealing. Like, everyone that's going to be making a change has issues and questions. Every one of them. Mm-hmm. So there are issues that need to be addressed and fixed, which is why it's hard to say that any one of these teams that's going to have an opening is the most appealing. Every one of them will have elements that make that job attractive, as the Bears will. There are things that make that job attractive. But there are going to be questions that they're going to have to explain to every candidate that's interested in the job that they're interested in.
I guess I want it to be the most appealing because we want the best candidate here, yeah.
Well, they would get to do a weekly show with you guys, maybe. That would make it work, right?
Something to that effect, yes.
Yeah.
It's funny, Schefter, because in cross-talking and later, I want to play it again, but like a sound that's been going around this weekend, December 29th, 2014. It was the 10-year anniversary of George McCaskey at the podium saying that his mom, Virginia McCaskey, George Halas's daughter, was pissed. She was 91 at the time. She's 101 now. Since that time, the Bears have not won a playoff game. I think they've been to the playoffs a couple of times. There are teams like the Browns, like the Jets, like the Bears, who continue to just be themselves like this. From just talking to people over the last several years, what do you hear? Why are the Bears the Bears?
It's a hard thing to answer. They seem to have repeated some of the mistakes that they've made, where they, in each and every year that they've drafted a quarterback number one, or in the first round, they've gone and fired their head coach that year. They've never seemed to marry up the head coach who wanted that quarterback. And so I think there's got to be some synchronicity that has not existed in this organization over the last decade when they talked about winning. Have you played that fight? I have not heard that fight in a while. I'd be curious to hear it, but you got to marry up these people. They got to be joined together. And the Bears have not had that cohesion. They've not had that continuity. They've not had that stability. They've gone through a lot of different people. They haven't settled on a plan. They've had different quarterbacks, different coach. Like, it's just not the way to succeed in football.
I think we have it, Schefter. So I think Jack could play it here. Jack, play that for Schefter.
She's been very supportive. She agrees with the decisions that we've made. She's pissed off. I can't think of a 91-year-old woman that description would apply to, but in this case, I can't think of a more accurate description. She's been on this earth for 8 of the Bears' 9 championships, and she wants more. She feels that it's been too long since the last one, and that dissatisfaction is shared by her children, her grandchildren, and her great-grandchildren. She's fed up with mediocrity. She feels that she and Bears fans everywhere deserve better.
So, Schefter, the point of that is that was 10 years ago, almost to the day, and nothing has changed since that time. That was the Mark Trestman dysfunctional year. This year, as you know, it was the first time they've ever fired a coach within season. They fired their offensive coordinator after 9 games. Dysfunctional. To me, it was the worst year. I grew up here. I covered this team for 25 years now. I have never gone through a more dysfunctional year than the 2024 Bears season, and that's 10 years after the second most dysfunctional year I ever lived through.
Well, yeah, that's 10 years of being pissed off. That's a lot of anger and aggression to carry for 10 more years since then, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I view that.
Like change it. Like change it for good now. You know, like do some looking in the mirror and figure out what have we could always change coaches, we could always change GMs. But what is really going on in that building as to what's not being changed?
Well, I mean, the only consistent thing that has occurred there the owners have been the same for 10 years, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I mean, I'm not there every day, but I've seen a lot of head coaches come through there. I've seen a lot of front office people come through there. I've seen a lot of players and quarterbacks. It's the same owners, so I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Anything on Pete Carroll? Have the Bears have any interest in Pete Carroll?
To me, I don't know why they wouldn't talk to him. He's a guy that he's as it was told to me, he was interested in that job.
Wow.
He was interested in that, but they had not spoken, and there were no plans at that time to talk. So I don't know that he's a candidate. But to me, he's been a great coach. He's helped instill culture wherever he's been. Seahawks have been mediocre without him. So I don't know. We'll see if they decide to call him. To me, like, what's the harm in talking to a great coach, a legendary coach? Like, spend the day with him. See what he has to say.
This is what's frustrating, Schefter. I think a lot of times we think, oh, that just makes sense. And those are not the decisions that the Bears ownership makes. And that's where it gets so frustrating. Yeah. At least talking to him. Like, how do you not just spend the day with a guy who's won a Super Bowl and has had success at the highest level? Like, I just don't. That makes no sense on the outside.
Well, again, I'd want to devour as much information from as many smart people as I could about what I feel my organization could be doing differently and what could succeed.
Before we let you go, and we always appreciate your time. We know how swamped you are at this time of year. 3 years ago, Kevin O'Connell was hired by the Vikings. We see these videos. He's so likable. He wins. He's so smart. I don't know how many fans knew of Kevin O'Connell 3 years ago. I'm sure NFL guys did. Is there a guy like him that isn't Ben Johnson? Obviously, Ben Johnson's the hot name. Is there a guy like him that maybe we should open our eyes to that could be a similar type of candidate like Kevin O'Connell?
I mean, I don't want to start naming names because I'll forget names, and now I'm singling out certain people, and I'm not a consulting firm that's in the business of trying to do that. There are people that do that for a living. I have my own thoughts on a lot of different candidates, strengths and weaknesses, and there are a lot of people that are really good that are out there, and it's up to the Bears to go find that guy who can be like a Kevin O'Connell, who can be like a Sean McVay. It's not an easy thing, but there are qualified people out there. There are great coaching candidates out there, that's the deal. It's up to them to find them.
Will you let yourself enjoy the New Year's Eve holiday?
Well, I don't know what that means. Like, it's a work week. Hopefully that'd be nice. We'll see. But it's just it's hard to just turn things off. You could step away for a little bit, maybe. Hopefully, dinner or whatever it may be. But that's the job. That's just like teams that are preparing for games this weekend. Are they stepping away? Are they enjoying a little bit, right? But it's still, that there's a busy week ahead.
Well, cheers to you.
Yes.
We appreciate your time as always, and thank you so much.
Sylvie Dion, Happy New Year to you, your family, everybody in the Chicago area. Good luck with the coaching hire. I've learned I don't like to just give out my coaching tips, free of charge there. There's a lot of time and work that went into finding out these great coaching candidates. So
we know you're just saving it for Big Cat.
No comment.
See you, Schefter.
Thanks, Adam.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.